Hi everyone, hope you're doing well, and welcome to another movie mix where I just give a few thoughts on a number of movies that I've watched recently, a real range of movies, hopefully something of interest. First up, Friedkin Uncut. Now obviously we just recently lost William Friedkin, a really sad thing there. So it was nice to catch up with Friedkin Uncut, a 2018 documentary that was on Tubi. Now there's nothing too unusual about Friedkin Uncut. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to find footage of William Friedkin just talking about his love of movies and expressing his honest opinions, but hey, just getting to watch a documentary that includes that is great fun as well. So Friedkin Uncut is not a career retrospective as such. It focuses mainly on the French Connection, Sorcerer, and The Exorcist, but it also has a number of people who are giving sort of anecdotes about their experiences in Friedkin's movies. So there's some really nice anecdotes from the likes of Willem Dafoe, who worked on To Live and Die in LA, and Matthew McConaughey and Juno Temple, who both worked on Killer Joe. So yeah, an enjoyable documentary, and especially for seeing the great William Friedkin just talking as he talks about movies. Now, sticking with Friedkin for a moment, if you remember The Exorcist, you'll certainly remember the great performance from Jason Miller as Father Karras in that film. Now, before he became an actor, Jason Miller was a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, and he wrote a play called That Championship Season, which, following the success of The Exorcist, he was then later able to direct himself in this film version that came out in 1982. Now, the film tells the story of a group of men who reunite in the town of Scranton 25 years after their basketball team had won the state championship. These men want to relive the glory of that moment, but they find that their lives have changed, and bitter squabbles and rivalries and secrets come out during the course of an evening. Now, this is a play that has a great cast that includes the likes of Robert Mitchum, Bruce Dern, Paul Sorvino, Stacy Keach, Martin Sheen. So a really impressive cast here, but it is a very stage-bound play. And it does feel a bit weighed down by that, but nonetheless it's a really interesting film, particularly because of this cast. Now, Jason Miller himself died in the town of Scranton back in around 1999, and then Paul Sorvino, who is one of the cast members here, he actually directed a further remake of this in 2001. The 2010 film Skeletons involves some exorcisms, but of a very different kind. This is a British movie, and it is very absurd and surreal and eccentric and really quite enjoyable. This film concerns two guys who will basically go into people's houses and open their closets and perform a procedure which then entails exposing the innermost secrets of people's lives and enabling the couples to then move on in their lives. Yeah, interesting subject matter for a movie. But as this film progresses and the guys get involved in doing an exorcism at a house where a husband has gone missing, they start finding that their own inner secrets start to get exposed, and it all becomes intertwined with the household that they're in. So yeah, this is a really unusual film. It does have a supporting cast that includes Jason Isaacs doing a very kind of eccentric kind of role that you could kind of imagine John Hamm probably doing these days. And it also has Tuppence Middleton, the beautiful actress, in a very early role for her. So yeah, Skeletons, directed by Nick Whitfield, is definitely worth seeking out. It is very unusual and quite enjoyable for that. 3 Iron is a movie from 2005 that is directed by Korean director Kim Ki-duk. And hey, if you don't like subtitles, then you might enjoy this one, because this film is played mostly without dialogue and really beautifully done. Now, the picture here might suggest that this is some kind of kinky three-way romance, but not a bit of it. This film actually concerns a young drifter who breaks into people's houses, but he doesn't steal things. He'll just have a shower and a bath, and then he'll go about fixing things in the house. And then one day he breaks into a house and doesn't realize that a person is watching him in silence, and that person is an abused wife who is battered and beaten by her rather vicious husband. So the drifter and the abused wife have a silent understanding of each other and begin a relationship that later culminates with a confrontation with the abuser husband. This is a really great movie, definitely quite unusual, but yeah, just very, very special because of the silent way in which it is done. Definitely worth checking out. Johnny Belinda is a film from 1948. Now this film was nominated for 11 Oscars and it won 1 for Jane Wyman as Best Actress. Jane Wyman, an actress who has been in films for Douglas Sirk such as All That Heaven Allows and Magnificent Obsession, and she was also in one of my childhood favourites, The Yearling. Now Johnny Belinda is set in Cape Breton in Nova Scotia, but it was actually filmed in California, and Jane Wyman plays a woman here, a young woman who lives on a farm with her father, played by Charles Bickford, and she's deaf and mute and considered by some to be a little sort of mentally deficient. But along comes a very kindly doctor played by Lou Ayres, who was the star of the original All Quiet on the Western Front. And he seeks to get her to learn sign language and help her come out of her shell more. However, upset occurs in her life when a guy attempts to, or actually does, rape her and gets her pregnant. Now this was one of the first Hollywood films to really touch on the subject of rape. Now the film is in the old Hollywood kind of tradition, I suppose, so it is very sort of melodramatic, but very well done. It's directed by Jean Negulesco, and the cinematography on this is by Ted McCord, who had also been the cinematographer on The Treasure of the Sierra Madre in about the same year. So yeah, this is definitely worth watching. It does seem a little bit dated now, I suppose, and not being talked about so much nowadays, but yeah, this is a grand film in the old Hollywood style and definitely worth watching. Now, Cillian Murphy is currently getting a lot of attention, and deservedly so, for his excellent performance in Oppenheimer. Now, to really appreciate his range as an actor, it's perhaps worth also looking at this film from 2005, which is directed by Neil Jordan, who also did The Crying Game and Mona Lisa, and it's called Breakfast on Pluto. And Cillian Murphy has a really androgynous role in this as a character called Patrick Kitten Braden. And now Patrick is abandoned as a baby on a doorstep in Ireland in the 70s, and then grows up to become a teenager who quickly realizes that he's not like other boys and likes to dress in women's clothing and flamboyant clothing. And when he's of teen age, he then wants to go on a journey to actually see if he can find his mother, who he understands has gone to London. So this is a journey of discovery set against the backdrop of the Troubles, and quite comedic at times. So in the support cast here we have Liam Neeson, we have Brian Gleeson as a very aggressive womble, and yes, I do mean a womble. It's very amusing to see that performance. There's a guest performance here from Brian Ferry from Roxy Music, which is quite an unusual performance. And then there's also the likes of Stephen Ray, who has been in a number of Neil Jordan films, as well as Ian Hart, Ruth Negga, and Stephen Waddington. So yeah, really, really impressive cast. A lot of 70s glam rock kind of music. We've got the likes of T-Rex and Van Morrison on the soundtrack here. But yeah, this is really a film to watch for Cillian Murphy's extraordinary and committed androgynous performance here. Really, really impressive. And so, like I say, yeah, this is a film that could be very sad and touching, but it does manage to be quite uplifting at times, and it does include a scene as well that may remind you of Paris, Texas. So yeah, definitely worth seeking out, Breakfast on Pluto. And finally, not a film but a TV series, and this is a limited TV series from 1998, 6 episodes. It's called Invasion Earth, and this is a BBC Scotland production, so it's actually filmed in the Scottish Highlands. Now the key thing about this is it is an early writing credit for Jed Mercurio, and he went on to write with huge success the series Line of Duty, as well as the limited series Bodyguard, which starred Richard Madden and Keeley Hawes. So yeah, earlier in his career, his writing here perhaps isn't as strong in terms of character development, but this is full of quite interesting ideas nonetheless, concerning an alien invasion and how it may affect mankind and how mankind should react to it. So yeah, it's more dramatic and discussion based than it is lots of alien confrontations and explosions or anything like that. It does have a very limited budget, and so the computer generated imagery, and I call it computer generated imagery because it very much looks like computer generated imagery, does kind of seem a little bit crude at times, but still nonetheless there are some effective scenes, and it has some interesting ideas. So definitely if you're into science fiction and you haven't seen this, then this may be worth checking out, and particularly if you like that kind of Quatermass and the Pit style of science fiction storytelling. Okay, I've raced through that. It's a very hot evening as I'm recording this, and I'm probably sweating more and more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there were some things there that were of interest. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything there of interest, if you've seen them, or if there's anything that you might like to see. Please do join me again for some more videos. I do want to keep doing more of these kind of in the mix type videos where we just talk about a range of movies. But yeah, hopefully I will see you again. Thanks for joining me. All the best. Bye-bye.